I caught a lunchtime flight on the Saturday, arriving into Kochi at about 8 o'clock in the morning, but that was feeling like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning brain time, and then had to queue for an hour and a half on my feet to get through immigration, where it was quite amazing to come out and just feel the temperature difference. As you can see, it's very much like many other places in that part of the world, like Vietnam. Nothing like as busy as Vietnam or Cambodia, though, and the traffic isn't full of scooters like it is in those places, many more cars, but just packed full of adverts, all in English, which was quite surprising. Similar sort of tropical countryside leading to the airport, and it was about an hour to get to the airport, but quite interesting to get a feel of the place, really. No end of churches everywhere, which was quite surprising because it is a very religious place, mainly Hindu, but an awful lot of Christians in this area. By that time I was feeling absolutely shattered, and there was an afternoon trip we could go on after we checked into the hotel. The hotel was quite nice. It was probably equivalent to UK 4-star, and the room was quite nice. No problem with that at all. Good air conditioning. And I just crashed out and went to sleep right the way through till the next morning. The next morning we got on the bus, and as you can see, Kochi is a port and they do lots of shipbuilding there. That's water hyacinths, which is becoming a bit of a pest. Lots of bikes at this time of the day. Interestingly, none of the buses, that green vehicle is the bus, have glass in the windows. But you'd be just absolutely baked if there wasn't air conditioning. Again, very similar street scene in Kochi to anywhere else in that part of the world. Hundreds and hundreds of shops selling everything you could want. But interestingly, most of the signs are in English. Lots of churches, like I said before, every sort of denomination. And this was the first visit to a laundry, which was originally set up for the untouchables or the Dalits. And it was quite amazing to go inside and see how washing is done by hand to this day.
You can see the ironing session. There is the old coal iron box, also the electric.
There you are, the washing is brought in to these people, and they iron with huge 5-kilogram irons. They're charged for the electricity they use and the water they use, and they rent one of those stalls out, and they probably make about £5 or £6 a day, something like that. It's not just women, it's lots of men doing the hard graft there. Quite astonishing to see in this day and age. We had the opportunity to have a go with the iron ourselves, and they were very heavy. What was even more surprising was seeing the way they wash them. There's that guy, when you'll see in a minute, beating the cloths on the ground. I think that's where it's rinsed. And then each of these stores, they take their washing and process it. And there he is, beating it. Hard work for very little money. After they've washed it, it just goes out either outside on the grass to dry, or they hang it up. And they never mix up anybody's clothes with anybody else's. What was also surprising was to see that they use ordinary washing powder like Dreft or Comfort, and they wash it all by hand. So God knows what it must do to their skin. Next it was back on the bus and drive to St Francis Church, which is quite a famous church for some reason, and inside it looked just like a normal church, to be honest. But what's interesting is the legendary circumnavigator Vasco de Gama is actually buried here. There you are. After that, we got back on the bus and went to the coast, and you can see lots of water hyacinth, which is causing a massive problem. There are lots of fishermen who fish along this coast using an ancient Chinese method of lowering nets. On the walkway, as everywhere, there were stalls selling food, drink, trinkets and everything you can imagine. You don't see many people buying, and you just wonder how they make a living. So these are the famous fishing nets. As you can see, they're on a sort of cantilever contraption that lowers them into the water. So that's how it's done. And then once they've been put in the water, we were all given the chance to pull the ropes to pull them back out of the water. It's quite an active fish market, and it's the locals who come and buy the fish rather than the restaurants.
It's a seer fish or kingfish. Kingfish, we had similar skin last night. Pearl spot. We cook them in banana leaf. Pearl spot. Very tasty freshwater fish.
What's that one called?
Pearl spot, like pearls. Pearl spots.
While the fishermen are washing the nets, there are lots of kites and other similar birds angling literally for a little bit of fish. After that, we got back on the coach and went back into the main town. Everywhere you stop, there are people trying to hustle and sell you stuff, all in a nice sort of way. So after that, we went to an area which is called Jewtown, which was the ancient Jewish settlement, obviously. Quite a high number of Jews left, however, and have gone back to Israel. So, this is a synagogue which caters for the remnants of the Jewish community. Quite interesting inside, not really that much to see. After that, we changed money at 100 rupees to the pound at a place he recommended, and we all went for lunch. It was surprising how quiet it was, really, because everywhere else I've been, which is anything like this, is absolutely packed with tourists. Most of the tourists of the area are actually Indian these days rather than foreigners. After that, we went back to the hotel for a short break, and then we went to see excerpts of a Kathakali dance. Usually these last for about 12 hours, but first of all we had a session showing how they display their emotions by rolling their eyes and making grimaces which aficionados would understand. That bit was a bit dull, to be quite honest, which is probably why this is a bit of a dying art. Not many people are that interested, not even Indians. But anyway, after that, we then had the actual excerpt from the play, which was about a god prince, being approached by what apparently was a beautiful maiden, and she does all the right things, asks him to marry her and all that kind of stuff, and then he realises she is actually a demon, and she goes wild and tries to have her wicked way with him, but it all came to an end when he thought he'd had enough of this, whipped out his sword and finished her off.